I have no idea if this is going to work. And I don't expect people to be watching. I'm going to be building the 6971. And I'm going to try to read this stuff. Oh, it's notifying viewers that I'm live right now. For whatever reason. I got a used lot the other day. And in it had most of the pieces for the 6971. So I should have replaced the base plates because these are little ones. These ones are a little beat up. Actually, let's just start here. And I don't have music playing in the background. Hey Google, play Battlestar Galactica music.
Choosing songs is only available with YouTube Music Premium, but you might like this station.
I don't know if this is doable or allowable, but I'm going to do it anyway. Hey Google, volume down. Hey Google, volume up. Hi. Hey Google, play Star Trek music. I know my friend Gen X Bricks has music playing all the time. I'm not sure.
Songs is only
blah blah blah.
With YouTube Music Premium, but you might like
so I'm going to, just because I don't be able to talk the entire time, I am building a 6971 that I got in a used lot last weekend. I just want to see if it's all here. I grabbed all the pieces that I could out of the collection. Hey Google, volume down. I don't know, it's playing that crazy music. Hi everybody. I don't know, like it's hard to see. I wish I could turn the camera. So I am building a 6971 just because I can. And put that screen up here. It's been a while since I built one, so I'm going to be building it a little slowly. But it is one of my favorite sets. There's a story about this that I've talked about on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel, for those who are interested, Sparky1701. Way back when this set was on the store shelves, my buddy Jake, Pete, and I, my buddies Jake and Peter, and I were making a movie, and it was called Lego Wars, which got me in trouble with the legal department. But what happened was that I needed the 6971 for the main base for the movie. We had, in my basement of my old house when I was growing up, my parents' house, we had a pool table, and on top of that pool table we built a moonscape out of paper mache, and I had a whole bunch of old classic space sets. But and I wrote a story. It's a 15-page story, and in the story, I had assumed that I would be getting a 6971 at some point, and it didn't happen. So a week before the movie that we were filming, I found out I was calling around to all the stores. Zellers didn't have one, but there was a store down. There's a toy store down in Jackson Square in Hamilton. And I lived in Winona, and I'm 15 years old, so I don't have a driver's license yet. So I got on my 10-speed bike, and I rode my bike all the way to Jackson Square from Winona, which is a pretty fair haul, but I was used to riding my bike far distances back then. And I didn't think this through because I bought the set. I think it was $60 at the time, like back then, 1980, whatever it was. That's some pretty big hunk of change. Especially for a kid who just cut grass for money and worked on farms. But what happened was that I had to carry that set all the way back home on my bicycle, my 10-speed to be said, and I didn't have a carrier in the back. This is like 19, and that wasn't a cool thing to have. As I got older, I put a carrier in the back with saddlebags to carry my books and stuff when I was in college and crap. But back then, I didn't have any saddlebags or any way of carrying this thing without just me grabbing onto the plastic handle that the store gave me when I bought the set. And so I'm riding it back from Jackson Square, and the bag ripped. So now there's the 6971. They're a pretty big box. So I had it laying on top of my handlebars, like I had the 10-speed handlebars, right? And so I had to, kind of hold the box there and ride with one hand all the way from Hamilton back to Winona. It was a bit of a hike. Again, I love that story. I'll never forget that story. And then I got it home, and then we made the movie. Jake, Pete, and I, we made the movie, and we had fun, absolute blast making the movie. Frame by frame animation. Jake's dad rented us back then a pretty high-end VHS camcorder, because they weren't, relatively available. They didn't have those little handy cams that you get, and then of course now the GoPros and everything else. This is like 1980, whatever. It cost us $50 for the weekend to rent the camera. And we had a tripod. My buddy Pete had a big tripod. We mounted a camera on it. And we didn't have any editing software either, by the way. So when you watch Lego Wars, you can, on my YouTube channel, you can see we started from the beginning. Oh, what's going on over here? Everybody's joining. From the beginning, we had to film it in sequence. So I did the opening animation on the Commodore 64 with the credits going by and blah, blah, blah. And then we filmed every scene in sequence because we had no way of editing it afterwards. Video editing. So that whole thing was done in a weekend. And then we returned the camera. And then we did the soundtrack afterwards, and we overdubbed on the VHS tape the sound and the people talking. And I got a few more of my friends to come over with. We went over to Jake's place, and we got the whole thing set up with sound effects and all that other stuff. It was a load of fun for the weekend. My house smelled like smoke because, of course, we were blowing things up with ladyfingers. And Pete, my buddy Pete, got flash paper because he was a magician, and so the house smelled like smoke for a little while. And the big climactic scene, the big bad spaceship, the bad guy was driving, smashes into the 6971. Now that was the big final scene. And so we put tons of ladyfingers in the back, and we put some flash paper in the back, and we put stuff that would burn in the back of the big huge ship that was crashing into the 6971. And we put the big ship on like a fishing string, and we tied it to because we're in the basement, so we had opens, we tied it to the joist above. And we didn't calculate it very well, because the very first time we did this, the spaceship did not crash into the moonscape. It actually just smashed right into the side of the 6971 and carried the whole thing. And then the strings broke, and it all smashed on the floor over there. Carried it right off the moonscape. So we had to rebuild everything, reshoot the scene. And then I lowered the strings, and then the second time it smashes right before it hits the 6971, and then it swings right around like the Battleship movie. It swings, and then the back end takes out the 6971, which is fine, which is what you see in the movie. But then the back of the ship's on fire now. There's paper burning. there's whatever you put in the back of the spaceship is burning, and my Lego's melting, and Pete's zooming in on the fire. And we're like, and I'm saying, stop, cut, because my Lego's on fire now. So it's like, it was a load of fun. And in the end, it's broken into two parts because back in the day when I uploaded it to YouTube, I couldn't upload more than 10 minutes at a time. So if you want to go check it out, Sparky 1701, type in Lego Wars. It's made in 1984, I think it was. We had so much fun making it, and every once in a while, I'll go back there. I mean, this is decades ago. I'll go watch it every once in a while and just appreciate the weekend that we had making that. So this set that when I got to use last weekend, and it had most of the pieces for the 6971, I was very, very excited because it has these memories. It's also, in and of itself, one of the best stations, one of the best bases that the Lego company ever put out. I mean, there wasn't too many of them. You got the command center, the 924. You got the Beta 1, which everybody thinks is the best, and I have a few copies of those, of that one. I like it, but the 6971 is better for me. The Space Isolation Base, even though it's a lot smaller, I think is the coolest set they ever came out with for a bass. And then, of course, there's a message intercept bass from Blacktron 1, which kind of just makes everything else put to shame. Because that Blacktron message intercept bass is so utterly fantastic. So I'm going to leave these here. So what else we got here? We got the 4. Go in the bottom here and do black. Which didn't I get 2 blacks? I'll be right back. I have to go get all this right there. There we go. And then we get one more of these. I don't know what to talk about. So I don't know how my friend Gen X does this, these lives all the time, because, you know, he talks the entire thing, and he's always got something to say, something interesting to say. When I'm doing my YouTube videos, I'm just talking to myself, and I won't shut up because I have all these things that I want to talk about, and I usually have a topic to talk about. But on this one, I do not have literally anything to talk about right now. Besides the fact that I just mentioned the story about the 6971 and how wonderful it is, we can talk about, where did I put the, leave that out. We can talk about the various molds over the years of the Lego company put out. And for those of you who don't know, here's, where's the camera? The camera's right there. So you can see that this is a closed stud. This is the original cone that came out in like 1978 for the original space sets. And they had a solid cone. And then after, I think, 1980, they had a hollow cone top. The stud is hollow. I think they did that for safety reasons or whatever reasons. But I have a variety of both, because well, I can talk about this. The first classic space set I got was in 1978. I think it was in 1978. And it was the 918. The 918, the one man, whatever you want to call it. People have different names for it, but it was released in Canada. I don't think it was released in the States at all. My friends in the States did not have the opportunity to get that one. But I got the 918 in 1978, and I believe it was 1978 because we moved in August of 79. And I remember having the 918 in my old house, and not in, and we brought it to the new house. I dropped the one piece. This is one of my favorite bins. It's classic space, classic space tools, and it's literally full of classic space goodness. And this is just from decades of collecting. I keep on saying this, not only in my YouTube channel, but every time somebody asks me about it. I never had a Dark Ages. As I say, my earliest memories, I have an older brother, and I have a bunch of older cousins who are all way older than me. So my earliest memories in the early 70s are playing with Lego. And then as I grew up, I got sets, and my younger sister got sets. My brother was getting sets until he was like 10 or 12. And we combined them all together. And this is the early 70s, so no minifigs, no classic space. And so what happened was, as I got older, I basically inherited all the Lego from the rest of the family. They were not interested in, they became teenagers. But when I became a teenager, I was making a movie, right? So I never had like a Dark Ages where I wasn't playing with Lego. So I made that movie when we were in high school, the Lego Wars, 1984. We were in high school. And then after that, in college, or getting close to college, I bought my first computer, my Commodore 64 in 1982, 83, around there. And I built an interface card because I was into electronics a little bit at the time. And I built an interface card that would allow me to connect the user port on the Commodore 64 to these 4.5 volt motors that Lego was releasing at the time. And that was fun because I was programming robots. I was making my own. This is pre-RCX. This is generations before any of that other stuff happened. So I had fun with that, and that got me through the rest of high school and the college. And then when I got in my 20s, I just kept on playing. I kept on building. I moved into a house with 3 of my close friends. We rented a house, and basically I just took over the unfinished basement while they slept up in the bedrooms upstairs. And there was an old ping pong table down there in the basement that I basically, at that time, 6990 had come out, and as soon as I walked into the store, I was 20 years old, by the way, when the 6990 showed up. I think 1987, around there. And as soon as I saw it, grabbed it, took it to the checkout counter. That's all that had to be said. So I was still buying a lot of classic space, this FX Star Patroller, and not the Robot Command Center. I did not buy this one off the store shelf, but I was still buying a lot of classic space sets off the store shelves. I wasn't getting any more from my family for Christmas and birthday, so I started buying my own. So when I got to be 20, I bought the 6990, and then I put it on the ping pong table with all my classic space sets. And then the accessory packs for the monorail came out, the loop, and then the switches. I bought two of each when those things were released. And so I had a pretty big monorail layout in the house that we were renting. And then friends would come over after church, and in our Sunday best, to be like 15 of my friends, we were all playing with my Lego set. They weren't fans. I was the fan. And they humored me a lot, I'll say that. I don't think I got any of the blue guns. So again, I have to go over here. And so that was my 20s. And then even when we were living in the house, again, this is pre-internet. I put an ad in the local paper, the Hamilton Spectator, and I said, wanted Lego, and willing to pay up to $100. And I thought, and it ran for 2 weeks, and it cost me like $15, $20. I thought I was a little shocked about that. But anyway, and I thought I was going to get like 2 or 3 calls for the entire length of that ad in the newspaper. I was getting 5 calls a night. And what was really funny is that back then, this is pre-internet and pre-cell phones, we our friends and me in my car, we all had CBs. We had installed CBs in our cars. And so basically after dinner, I'd be driving around town and my friends would call me in the CBs. Hey, somebody over there on the Smith Road wants to sell you some Lego. And I'd drive over there and pick that lot up and then drive to the other side of town and pick that up. And one of my favorite stories to this day is I got a call from an old retiree out in Selkirk, which is way out in Lake Erie, past Port Dover, like way out there, like a good hour drive from where I lived. And he called me up and he says, Dave, I got some Lego for you. Bring $125. And I said, well, the ad says 100. He says, no, bring 125. And so, sure. So I drive all the way out to Selkirk on a Saturday afternoon. And I get out there, and he lived in this little kind of retiree village, little tiny little near the lake. All these little cute little cottage houses, little white picket fences, beautiful little flower beds, like just completely manicured, just gorgeous. And I stop by this one unit, and the guy comes out and he says, "You're Dave?" And I say, "Hi, sir. How are you?" He's like 90 years old. And he goes, come into my shed. And he comes out to this little shed, this beautiful little shed, this white with like red trim and like flower boxes on the windows. Just absolutely gorgeous. He opens the doors, and the entire floor is just covered with boxes full of Lego. Just like lots of Lego. And I said, like, really? I said, sir, this is well worth thousands of dollars. He said, and he said, no. I said, 125. My wife wants it out of here. We've been collecting it for the grandkids. They don't want it. And I saw your ad, and I said 125 bucks. And I said, no, I'm going to give you more. He says, do not give me more. I do not want any more. And I was saying, oh, dude, like, really, no, you can't do this to me, because I'm going to feel guilty about it the rest of my life. He says, no, I'm a man of my word. I said 125 bucks. That's what I want. I filled up the back bed of my pickup truck. like I had a 6-foot box, and it filled the back of the pickup truck of Lego, and I drove that back home. And then life goes on. The internet shows up in the mid-90s, and Kijiji shows up, and I started buying Lego on Kijiji, and I started like getting all these other like sets and interesting things, and then eBay, which brings up to one of my next favorite stories. On eBay, I've discovered Lugnet, which was the single best resource ever for anybody who was a fan of Lego in the late 90s and early 2000s. Lugnet was the place to be. So on Lugnet, I found that there was a Lego group. I didn't know about Lego groups. Like, up until Lugnet itself, I thought I was the only adult fan of Lego on the planet. Really, in all seriousness, I had no idea. I had not found anybody else that was close to my age that still loved playing with Lego. And I'm in my 30s now, right? In the 90s. And so it's like, wow, there's actual people out there that are fans of Lego just like me. And so Lugnet led me to the local Lego group in Toronto, because I'm in Hamilton. And you can say, and you know that when I say Toronto, I don't live in Toronto, because nobody from Toronto says Toronto. So anyway, so I go out to the local lug in Toronto, and I'm hanging out with these guys for a while, and they're doing robot competitions, which is absolutely fantastic. And we had a lot of fun with that. I have to go get 2 or 3. Be right back. So I had to get these guys. Here's me dropping them on the floor. That's how I'm not good at this. I have been better at this on my own YouTubes, but whatever. These guys. So I started hanging out with my buddies in RTL Toronto, and we start doing robot competitions, and we start doing our dinners, and we're doing all that stuff. And I'm just having a blast with that. And we start getting to know one another. And there it is. So there's that one right there. This is always the tricky part. Let's one off of that guy. I think that's right. Let's say it's right. And then one time we're at dinner, one of our monthly dinners. And I say, you know what I'm going to do for a month? Or no, you know what I'm going to do for a year? I'm going to bid on every single Galaxy Explorer on eBay. Whatever it is. If it says Galaxy Explorer, I'm going to bid on it. And I'm going to bid at 75 bucks. First time, first bid, only bid, and see what happens. So every time I see a Galaxy Explorer on eBay's, I'm just going to bid 75 bucks and then forget about it unless I win or I lose. And I did that for an entire year, every single time. I think I bid on over 100 lots. That's a Galaxy Explorer, and had either a Galaxy Explorer in box or a Galaxy Explorer just a ship, or sometimes with the base plates. Whatever, as long as it had a Galaxy Explorer in it, 75 bucks. Most of the time I was outbid, and about 50% of those times I was outbid by $1, which happens a lot on eBay. You get sniped. Sometimes I was outbid by lots of money. Sometimes I went for $250. And back then, this is like early eBay, I couldn't justify 250 bucks for a Galaxy Explorer. But out of over 100 bids on eBay for Galaxy Explorers, I won 12 of them. So over the course of 1 year, I got 12 Galaxy Explorers for up to 75 bucks. Sometimes I won for 60 bucks. Sometimes I was right on 75 bucks. But overall, 2, 4, 6, 8. There we go. This goes right on the line. 2, 4, 6. Perfect. And so I can't complain about that at all. Getting 12 Galaxy Explorers in 1 year. So, and I will say that was a load of fun at the time. I'm glad I did it. I wouldn't do it again because first of all, it's not going to work for $75 anymore for a Galaxy Explorer. You're not going to be able to get that again. And again, so I've always considered myself personally very blessed in this hobby because I was at the right age through the entire thing for what I'm interested in. And everybody says, they're interested in different things. But I love classic space. As I say, I was like 11 years old when I got my first classic space set, this 918. The next Christmas, I got 4 more classic space sets, the 6890, the 6880, and a couple of the small ones. And then I was too old for family to buy Lego for me for my birthday or for Christmas. So I started buying my own. Because by that time, I'm 13 years old, I'm cutting grass, I'm working on the farms, I'm doing whatever I can to make money, and I have disposable income. And so I started buying, I walk into Zellers, and I buy a Lego set, usually classic space. And having a good time with that. But and again, it never stopped. I will say, and I've said this a few times, there was a dark ages for me for buying new Lego sets. And that was in the 1990s. For me, and I'll say it to this day, and I'll say it to the Lego's face, in the 90s, in the mid-90s especially, Lego could not come out with a set worthy of my money. And I make no bones about it. It was very, very rare for them to release a set in the mid-90s that I actually wanted to buy. And I went to the store all the time. Just look around. But during the 90s, the newspaper ad, garage sales, flea markets, thrift stores, I was still buying a lot of Lego in the 90s, but it was all used. And mostly classic space. And so what happened was, for crying out loud, these guys have to stop. So that got me through the 90s, buying lots of Lego, all used, and I would clean it, I would wash it, and I would just, have fun with it, and hence my room is full of stuff. But what was really interesting is I would still walk into the store every once in a while to check out the Lego, and it was 1998. And I walked into the store, I think it was Toys R Us by that time. And when I walked into the store, I saw that big box, Mindstorms, the RCX. And I had never even heard about it before I stepped into the store. I had not even heard about it before I stepped into the store. Like I didn't even conceive in my mind that I should go on the internet to find people who love Lego. Before this day. Like I never even thought about it. And so I walked into the store, Toys R Us, saw the RCX, bought it, brought it home, ripped the box open, built robots, had a great time with it. Then I go, maybe just because it says go online. And so I went online. And then so they had the Lego page for the RCX, which was, rudimentary. But then I discovered Lugnet. So the RCX led me to Lugnet. Now I would have found Lugnet eventually, but RCX was a huge mind-blowing event for me because again, I built my stuff back in the Commodore 64, but that was so rudimentary compared to the RCX. And then I found the Lugnet, and then I found that Toronto, the Lego group in Toronto was doing a show in Guelph University for a weekend for March, and I went over there. I entered a competition, robot competition at University of Guelph. I had a great time with that, and then it just kind of went on from there. And then we started doing more robot competitions, and I started hanging around the group a lot, and made some really, really good, solid friends there that I still have to this day. And it just kind of exploded from there. And then we started doing shows. We were doing a variety of shows. I'm going to kind of just put these because I won't bother counting. It's 2, 4, 5. Yeah, that's 5. I can do it. Probably have to move it. Let's see. This is the one thing about this build is that it's very hard to find where you're supposed to put these. So it's like, and somebody's probably already screaming at me on the things. You're putting it in the wrong spot. Yeah, whatever. That's fine. I've always loved these things. I use them a lot when I used to build my own stuff. You know what's surprising for me is that that's fun. I don't have one in this entire layout. So you think I would actually put that in the layout, but I haven't done that yet. Let's goes over here. I think I'm gonna just kind of wing this one and just wait till it gets close to be built over there. See, my friend Gen X whistles and talks on his lives, and again, I don't have much to say doing a live. It's very odd because if you watch my YouTube channel, you'll see, if you just go to it, you'll see that I have over 1,000 videos on there. I got on YouTube basically 6 months after YouTube started. And the very, very original videos could only be like 3 or 4 minutes, and they had to be super compressed. So they looked like crap, but I didn't care. You'll see me talking on my YouTube channel, on my videos. And sometimes I make an hour video and I won't shut up. And I'm going, why can't I do that here? Because I can't seem to do that. Are these clips? Here, it's just being live is a little different than doing it just ad hoc on the YouTubes. But I'm going to give it a try because I really respect my friend Gen X. And Gen X Bricks, he's very inspirational on this stuff. And he seems to be able to do lots of lives. And I wanted to do this one specifically because this one has memories for me. But in the end, I'm not good at this. Not good at just talking with people watching. It's just still I will find odd. There we go. And these guys. This is it's a set that I used to build quite frequently, and but I haven't done it in a long time, and so it's like, oh, these old sets are fun. I will say this. And I'm on Piron, by the way, because again, my homepage for my computer is always Lugnet. And so I'm on Piron.com with the instructions and all the other stuff. Because I like Piron and I like Lugnet. I don't go to Brick Owl. I don't do all those other newer, fancier things because I am old school. I've always said it. I appreciate the old school stuff. And I don't want to change that. So unless it's a newer set that's not on Piron, because of course Piron stopped being updated a long time ago. Then, but I don't rebuild new sets, so it doesn't matter. So I'm old school through and through, and that's the way I like it. So we got this one, that goes there, that goes there. Every once in a while, I realize how awesome Lego is, even though they sent the legal department after me. Which I in the end understood, and I accepted it because again, the movie we made was called Lego Wars. Now we did say we are not affiliated with the legal company because I knew that much back in the 80s, but in the end, I should have called it something else. I'm the one that wrote the story. Pete and Jake were there for filming and helping with the actual production of the actual movie, but I wrote the story. Jake was Lego Man, which is the hero of the story. Lego Man, kind of a little on the nose. and I was the bad guy. I was the voice of the bad guy, which I didn't mind. So it was a great weekend, as I say. It was lots of fun and lots of great memories, and it was really funny too. So we filmed it on the VHS camcorder, as I mentioned, And then we actually, it was a Betamax camcorder, because I'm remembering this because the original was on a Betamax. When we moved it over to the VHS, that's when we added our audio, and then we made some copies of the VHS tape. So Jake had a copy, Pete had a copy, and I had a copy. And then I went off to college, and my friends, because I do tend to talk about this a lot, I don't seem to shut up about it, about my hobby here. Oh, you made a Lego? I'd love to see it, said one of my buddies in my college class. And it's right before we graduated. And so I lent it to him, thinking I would get it back before we graduated. I didn't get it back. So I did not get my copy of Lego Wars back. And my buddy Pete was already off graduating his college, and he's out in the world somewhere, and Jake went off and did his life somewhere else. So I'm left alone in Winona. And I never got make another copy from one of them. So my buddy Pete comes back a few years back. He comes back into town and he goes, "Oh, Dave, I transferred the VHS copy of our Lego Wars movie into DVD." So actually, it was like MP4. Do you want a copy? Absolutely. That's the one I uploaded to YouTube. So it's just so much fun. It was honestly, it was such a good time. And I to this day, I'm so glad we did it, because of the memories that we have. And some people, you know, they stumble across it every once in a while, and they say, "Oh, that's fun," and I go, "Yeah, it was a time of our lives, basically." You know, we were kids, we were teenagers, and we got to make a movie. Yes, out of Lego, but it was still a lot of fun. And as I say, the basement smelled like smoke, which was maybe not the best, but whatever. In the end, it is what it is. I always like to encourage people just to, you know, do stuff you never did before. Step out of your comfort zone, and see what happens. This goes here, just because I can. There we go. Next page. Where are we here? All right. So we got the fences. This is the one thing I always thought was odd about this 6971 is they used regular fences in blue. I think these are the first blue fences I ever got in the Lego set, but they're fences. Now they used them in other sets as inside containers to hold stuff in. I think the M-Tron, I don't know which M-Tron set used those in black to keep stuff from falling out of the containers. But I mean, just using them as fences, I don't know. It just seems to be a little chintzy to have fences like your little garden picket fence in space. So, but in the end, whatever. Where are we here? Go here. Okay, let's go this thing. And then this guy, because I can't see, but I'm sure. Oh, maybe I have to hit back. So yeah, this is this one. I think I might have got those backwards, but I don't care. That goes there. And that goes there. And these guys. So the other thing is, on this specific set, I've been reconstituting what I've been calling reconstituting all these classic space sets for a bunch of years now. As I say, I gathered a bunch of them over the years and used lots. And I used them in my layouts and parts and pieces everywhere. But lately I've just been rebuilding the actual original sets. And so I've been going into my collection to find the pieces that I'm missing. And I'm actually getting to the point where I'm running out of pieces, which is a shock for me. Because like I thought my collection was so vast that I wouldn't be, I'll show you as an example. Can I make a Star Wars set? I would love to make a Star Wars set. I kind of say this for my friends because it bugs them, because they're all huge Star Wars fans. I'm a Trekkie and I appreciate Star Wars a little bit. right there, right below this desk, is still in box, the 10130, the original ISD UCS, the old light gray. It's right there, still in the box. Because first of all, I have no place to put it if I were to build it. And second of all, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I got it from a friend who got it as a door prize. I built Star Wars sets. I used to collect, when they first came out, the first couple of years, they had those little tiny packages for Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and the window in the back. And so the little vignettes. Also the Lance Speeder, the original one with the tan pieces in it. And the TIE Fighter X-Wing, or the TIE Fighter Y-Wing, I think it was. It was a deep discount. I grabbed it. The Technic Darth Vader, which was awesome. I used to have it together. It's not here anymore. So I do have Star Wars sets, but for me, classic space is where I'm at. and this is my classic space bin of modified plates, and you can see how full it is. This is from collecting, and this is old light gray, collecting for 30, 40 years. And it's not just all, I mean, there's these things from the train sets and stuff like that, and these from the helicopters, but lots of these guys in it, because you need those for classic space. Lots of ladders in it, blah blah blah. So and like, this is not, I got like 5 stacks of those. So when I actually get to running out of parts, I actually get a little surprised, because I'm going, oh, I thought I had lots of those. It turns out that no, I don't. So it's a little bit odd for me when I run out of parts. And actually, speaking of which, so this was not this one. No, it was this one. This one was in the same lot as this one. I got it, as I said, at the garage show last weekend. This was missing probably a half a dozen parts, including the hand. So I had to get, and I ran out of my gray ones, so I had to put a black one on the end here. Also, my 1x4 hinge part. So this is, you can see right there, it's white. I always substitute a white for if I'm missing a part, because I can find that easy and go on Bricklink and download it or order it. But I ran out of those, and that was ubiquitous in my collection. Like, I had dozens of them, but I've been so busy with reconstituting these sets that I ran out. I said, oh, so I will put in a Bricklink order at some point, and we'll go from there. Actually, I ordered these guys for Bricklink because I was rebuilding the FX Star Patroller and the Gamma 5, which I got in the same lot a few weeks earlier, and I used up all my 8x8 wing plates with the 4x4 notch, and I didn't have any more, so I actually had to order these guys from Bricklink. What else? I ordered these from Bricklink because I ran out, which is shocking to me. So, and this one I'm reconstituting. I have 2 of these left, and I have a third one, but it's missing the handle, and this thing requires 4. So I'm actually gonna have missing pieces in this set, which, you know, I'll deal with that. It is one of those things. I'm gonna put this up here because I like doing that. Sorry. 6971 page 10. Page 10. Here we go. Because this is where it gets. This is where it gets serious. This is when I remember building this the very first time and realizing what a fantastically cool set this thing was, compared to the Beta 1. Now the Beta 1 is cool. The Beta 1 comes with that big printed brick. Let me show you that. Beta 1. And if you're all interested, this is like years of collecting for, you know, various reasons, and not to put a fine point on it, I have about 5 built Beta 1s in storage. and yet I'm gonna do something with them. I don't know what yet. And this is the other thing about Bricklink. So, by the way, we're going to talk about Bricklink for a sec. I love Bricklink. It is one of my because I used to do lots of ordering on Bricklink. Because when I was building this guy, and I always talk about this. This is all basically basic brick from top to bottom. It's 5.5 feet tall, but it's basically basic bricking. If you haven't seen it, and you just go to my YouTube channel. It's basically basic brick from bottom to top. Bricks, 2x bricks, 1x bricks, 45 degree slopes, 33 degree slopes, all in blue, classic space blue. But what happens is that in order to build that, I needed 3,000 3x4 blue slopes, 33 degree slopes. Now I had lots of 33 degree slopes in blue because those things were ubiquitous coming in sets when I was a kid. All those little basic 2, 4, 6, 8, all those Samsonite sets when I was younger. I have that one right here. Not this one, but remember these old basic sets? They would have those roof pieces in it, either red or blue. So I had lots of blue 3x4, 4x3, 33 degree slopes. Lots of them, but not 3,000 of them. so that's where Bricklink comes in. And so you order them up Bricklink, and they show up the next week or whatever, and you say, well, this is awesome. And you know, it goes from there. So I did, back in the day, I was doing lots of Bricklink orders and to finish that tower and the rest of the layout. And every time I'm at a Bricklink store, whatever store I'm looking at that had the hundreds of pieces that I needed, I'd go look at the trans yellow. We got to have trans yellow for classic space. I'd look at the blue. I'd look at some other classic spacey pieces, and I said, "Oh, they have all these pieces too." And I would just order them. I didn't need them, but I would just order them. And so because I'm going to pay for shipping anyway, so it depends what the price was and how much I cared about getting that piece. And that's why I have lots of light gray classic space pieces right now, because of Bricklink and all the garage sales and all the thrift shops and all the flea markets and all that stuff and the ad in the paper. So I consider myself extremely blessed in how I was at the right time, at the right place for most of this stuff. And when I look back now and I realize that a lot of people did not have the same fortune that I did, I find that, you know, a little bit, you know, sad, because they had dark ages, and I'm not faulting them for having dark ages. A lot of my friends, most of my friends had dark ages when it came to Lego, where they did not buy Lego sets in their teens and 20s and 30s, and they didn't get back into it until they got married and had kids. I didn't get married till I was like in almost 40. so because I was too busy being a geek. I was watching Star Trek and playing Lego and hanging around with friends. I didn't meet anybody who would fit into my lifestyle at the time, shall we say. And so, and again, I didn't have a problem with that, because I was too busy having fun. It's not just Lego. We did lots of camping back in the day, and we did hanging out, mountain biking, and all the other stuff. Like my friends and I, we had a great time just, you know, working and hanging out, going for coffees and all that other stuff. So getting married and having kids was not in my cards at all. And I always said that a person would have to, I don't need to be accommodated at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I wasn't willing to change my lifestyle, because I saw nothing wrong with my lifestyle. I was having good times with my friends, helping out wherever I could in the community, volunteering here, there, and everywhere, but still living the life I wanted to live. And so in order for somebody to come into my life, they'd have to come into my life and, quote unquote, be acceptable of what I'm doing with my life, because I didn't see anything wrong with it. Now, I have no problem accommodating somebody who wants to be in my life and sacrifice and compromise and all that stuff. And I'm saying I have no problem compromising, but I wasn't willing to give it up entirely. I wasn't willing to stop watching Star Trek when I started dating somebody. I wasn't willing to stop going to Lego shows with my friends, my Lego groups. And I had dated some people that had a problem with that. They were not happy about the Lego stuff. And I'm going, there's nothing wrong with it. Especially when I started meeting other people online that says that, they're having fun, and I'm having fun. So there should be absolutely nothing. Nobody should be able to say, you should just give that up because it's a childhood thing. And I'm going, like, I have friends that rip apart cars and put them back together, like they're in and people think that's adult, and that's fine. It's their hobby, and I have no problem with that. People who fix up old cars, I love it. I don't do it myself, but when they need help, I go over there and help them lift an engine block. Absolutely. If you're one of my friends and you need help with something like that, I'm right there for you. But you have that hobby. My uncle, who just passed away, unfortunately, like last year, he collected stamps his entire life, which was perfectly acceptable, right? Because it's stamps, and you can collect stamps. Sure, you can collect stamps until you're 86. Absolutely. But this is different somehow, and I didn't get that. And so I always had a tough time with that idea. I'm jumping ahead in some of these steps here. So I would not compromise my fundamental, and I again, so this is where I make a differentiation. I don't want to compromise fundamentally who I am and who I've been since my earliest memories as a person who plays with Lego and does shows and hangs out with people who want to talk about Lego. And so I will say I reduced the amount of time I put in the Lego room because you're living with somebody now. You're with somebody and you're sharing your lives. And she has her hobbies and I have my hobbies, and we do stuff together. So the number of shows I've done, well, actually, the thing is, we met at a Lego show. I met my wife at a Lego show, my future wife at a Lego show, and you can't go wrong with that. And so she fit right in, and I fit into her life, right? Again, we don't put a lot of pain and pressure on each other to sublimate. There's a word for you, sublimate. We do not sublimate our own sense of self to appease the other person. She does what she wants. I do what I want, and we do stuff together that we want to do together. And so I didn't lose my life, and she didn't lose her life when we became, got married and stuff. And and she comes out to the Lego shows, and she's interested. She wants to do, she wants to partake more, which is fantastic. Here it is, Battlestar Galactica. one of my favorite themes ever, and like, I'm a Star Trek fan. That's just a way of life. But the BSG original theme from the original series that you only heard, I think, 3 times in the reboot, which I still love, by the way. The reboot was awesome. But the original theme song from Battlestar Galactica is one of my favorite by far symphonic orchestras. It's fantastic. It's almost like the original movie version of Buck Rogers in the 25th century, which is also awesome. So anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. What do I want to do here? I want to go into the next page. I'm going to skip this step here. These guys. So I met my wife at a Lego show back in 2004, I think it was. And we went on a few dates after that. We went on we used to do like 4 or 5 shows a year as a Lego group. We did 4 or 5 shows a year, and they were lots of fun. They were not Lego conventions, like they were not Brick Fest. I went to Brick Fest in 2004, where I met all my friends that I've been talking to online on Lugnut for years. I met in 2004 in real life, and that was spectacularly awesome. But that is the only Brick Fest I ever got to with 2004, which I kind of regret, but life gets in my way. Like I'm always busy doing something. And so I never got a chance to go to do a lot of them. But in Toronto, we did lots of shows. We did the hobby shows, and we did the toy train and doll shows, and we did the spring shows and the Christmas shows and whatever. I ran some of those, which is fantastic. And so at one of those shows, my friend brought his friend from work, and it wasn't an official setup, but basically he brought her to meet me. so that was fantastic, and I think that's right. I will tell you in a second. Let's see, get into the next page. And so that was the fall show. I think it was the November show. Maybe not. Oh no, it's a small one. And then we went. Our first date was to Eastside Mario's and to watch National Treasure. Fantastic movie, mostly because of the nostalgic factor. That was our first date together. But she became my National Treasure after that. That's what I always say. And so anytime National Treasure's on TV, we watch it. So it's fine. There we go. I don't have the actual tubes, unfortunately. And these go in here. We're getting down to the end. This has been interesting. These guys go on. Oh, right. These guys. That's what those are for. It's been so long since I built this set. And so we dated for almost a year, and then we got engaged, and we were engaged for almost a year, and then we got married. And we've been together since 2004. We got married in 2006. Had our first and only wonderful kid in 2009. And she still puts up with me. And I'm down here in the leg room while she's upstairs reading. And it's just wonderful to be with a person that will allow you to be you, and quote unquote I allow her to be her. That we have to allow each other to do anything. This is not a authoritarian relationship or whatever. It is a perfectly synergistic relationship. Okay, what else? I got all these other spare pieces. I think that goes on here. I remember that. It goes there, and that goes there. Remember that. And this goes up here somewhere. Yeah, it goes there. Right, because this goes up there. I'm not even going to bother with the last step. I'm just going to remember how to do this by hand. And this thing has these pieces on the side. And it goes on there. That goes right. Ooh, that almost looked like I knew what I was doing. And we'll move all these over here. I'm going to turn this around. And I think those go in these things, if I remember correctly. And again, I'm missing one. Unfortunately, I'm missing one. And one's broken, so that's fine. So I have two left over. Oh, these went in here. It is. There we go. And once that fell off, this goes here. And there. Now, no minifigs, and again, that's fine. Let's see. I think that's everything, except for those three missing, the two hoses, and the trans red shield. Yeah, I think that's perfect. So there you go, the 6971. As I say, it is one of my favorite sets, mostly because of the memories I had when I was a kid. And the fact that it was in the Lego movie. No, this version I just got from the lot that I got last weekend. The original one that was in the movie is in storage, actually. It is actually built, and it's in storage. I think I forgot a step, and I have to do it right now. And it's this one. This goes, yes, I did forget this part. This is what happens. And I will also say, the older the set is, the harder it is to find quote unquote mint parts. That goes there. low. I have to figure that out. I'm sure I built something wrong. But there you go. It is a wonderful set. I like this one. It's not comparable to the message intercept bass. It really isn't, which I have right up there, which you might be able to see right at the top there. But it is one of my favorites, and I'm glad I got to rebuild it. And what's going to happen is this is going to go into storage. I do plan. I've been talking about it on my YouTube channel for a long time. As my plan is to, let's put it right there so you can see it. My plan is to, at some point, pull out all my classic space sets and rebuild them, because they're all in Ziplocs and part, but basically broken down into main big chunks, and then rebuild them and put them on a big display somewhere. Because again, I got my layout that I bring to shows. I'm going to be at a show on Wednesday, by the way, just in case you're wondering. I'm going to have probably a live TikTok then at the show. I'm going to be in Brickomanie in Montreal, Quebec. Brickomanie.ca. If you're interested, they have an open days, Saturday and Sunday, but I'll be there from Thursday to Sunday, partaking in all the events and putting my layout together. And so if you're interested, I might do a live there of me putting my layout together, which some people find neat and or amusing, more amusing than neat. But and I'll answer questions about whatever. And so I'm going to be there for 4 days, starting Thursday. And but so that's what the layout. This is going to be a separate thing. I don't know what show I'm going to be doing it at, but I have about 7 or 8 totes in the garage, big Rubbermaid rugged totes in the garage, full of all my classic space sets that I've reconstituted. Again, just like this. I mean, I got a few of these just like last week and before. I keep, anytime I find a classic space set right now at a garage sale or whatever, and it's inexpensive, I buy it and I rebuild it. And so I got 7 bins of this stuff sitting in the garage. And so I don't even know what I have right now. That's one of the big things. I honestly don't know what I have. I mentioned the 12 Galaxy Explorers, and I would say this is how my life has been blessed. So I got those 12 Galaxy Explorers over a year of eBay bidding. And then when I started doing Brick Fete, which is a Lego convention in Toronto that started in 2011, they have a charity auction, Brick Fete did. And so for 4 or 5 or 6 years that I was going to Brick Fete, I would donate one of those Galaxy Explorers with the base plates and the little building. Like the whole set. No box, because I don't care about boxes. I'm not a fan of boxes. I'm not an AFLB. I'm an adult fan of Lego, not an adult fan of Lego boxes. I don't keep boxes. But anyway, so I would donate a Galaxy Explorer to their charity auction every year, and it would go for about $400 every single year. So the number of Galaxy Explorers I had went from 12 down to 7 or 8, which is fine. How many Galaxy Explorers does one person really need? Brick Fete stopped in 2018, I think was the last one, 2017, 2018. Since then, I have been buying more used lots. And as I say, I just bought this one last weekend, and it came with this guy, which looks very, very familiar. It came with this guy, which looks very, very familiar. It came with these guys, which again looks very, very familiar. And like 1x6s. Now it did not come with the stamped 1x4 bricks that said LL on it. So I don't know. It could be a 924 or it could be a 928. I don't know which one. But what I do know is that I've got a whole bunch of lots since Brick Fete, and I actually now have, again, 12 Galaxy Explorers, because when I buy a lot, I don't know what's in it. I see classic space parts, and I didn't know this had a 6971 when I bought the lot last weekend at the garage sale. It was in Burford, by the way. So the garage sale we went to on the weekend, Burford, Ontario, which is just west of Brantford, Ontario. And every single year in September, the entire town has a town-wide garage sale. And so people show up and park up and down Main Street, and they walk, everybody's on the front lawn selling stuff. But over in the park, the Lions Club Park, They have a bunch of outbuildings, and so there's like the dozens of vendors there and sellers there. And this is where I found with a big banker's box full of Lego, and it had a few other things in it that I found very, very neat, because I always wanted this guy. Now I got him, and I don't know what to do with him. And it didn't come with a remote, but I think I have a remote that will work with this, because I got most of the old remotes. This is one piece I didn't wash, by the way. Quick story, talk about Burford. Anytime I get a used lot, I wash it before it goes into the collection. Anytime, any used lot that I get, I get it from my best friends. I still wash it before it gets into my collection, because I made a mistake once years ago that, this looks very, very clean, I'm not going to wash it, and I sorted it into the collection. And then as I was building one day, I noticed there was my fingers were just black from ink. And I didn't realize that a couple of the bricks had some sort of exploded marker on them, and it never dried. Like, these pieces were sitting in the container for like a year, and then I got in there, and it got into all the other bricks, and it was like gooky. I think it was a marker, and it was inky, but it was also like goopy, like it was like plastic kind of thing. And I had to rewash many, many bricks. And I had to remember where I sorted everything into and grab those, like just grab it off the shelf and wash the entire bin then. That was painful. And so I learned my lesson. Any used lot gets thoroughly washed and investigated. Now, before I dump them into the sink, so there are a lot of people wash them in different ways. Some people buy those nice little bags that you put the delicates in and throw it in the washing machine. Some people put theirs in the dishwasher. I put mine in the sink. I got a big sink and put some soap and a little bit of vinegar in there, and let it soak for 20 minutes. Mix it all up. Make sure every piece is apart. Mix it up, and then let it sit, and then drain and rinse it a few times. That's all I do. And I think it's fun. It's therapy for me. It's fun. You get your hands in there and makes a nice sound in the sink. I got a couple YouTube videos about that. But so this lot I bought last weekend. I washed it the second I got home. Basically, I dumped the entire banker's box into the sink and realized that it overflowed the sink. I should have broken it up into two different lots, but whatever. But I washed everything, and then I put them here, and then I reconstituted one robot command center, and now I reconstituted the 6971. And my next one is going to be, I think, the all-terrain vehicle, which is a wonderful set. And because I have a few things, so I got this and this that tells me it's the all-terrain vehicle, and these guys here, which tells me it's an all-terrain vehicle, and then I got some extra white pieces. So also I got the mobile lab, because again, this just tells me there's a mobile lab in here, but it's missing a lot of pieces. But it does have that piece, but I need two. And so I may not reconstitute, because it's missing that's why I'm not going to, I already made my decision. I'm not going to reconstitute the mobile lab, because I don't have one of these in light trans green. And I don't have any in my collection either. So if you want to talk about parts I do not have a 1x3x6 trans green windshield. So I'm not reconstituting the mobile lab. Now I could, again, bricklink it, but I already have 2 or 3 built, and they're in the bins out in the garage. And so I don't need to build another one. So those pieces and parts will be rolled into the collection. I also believe in this lot, because of this piece here, and because of these pieces here, an FX Star Patroller. But I just got one in a lot 2 weeks before when I reconstituted that one, which is why I had to order these parts. And this is for my other FX Star Patroller, which is in the garage. So I don't have any of these in spare now. And this lot did not come with any of these wing plates. So this is part of my hobby that I'm really enjoying right now, is to buy used lots and reconstitute the actual sets. So this is, again, Mobile Lab, which is fantastic. But also, because 3 of them came in this lot, the Beta 1. And I don't want to reconstitute the Beta 1 because it's missing a lot of pieces, including the track, but also because the flag is broken. And that's 2 lots in a row that came with the Beta 1 with a broken flag and missing most of the parts for it. most of the parts for this guy, I think I had to pull 20 parts from my collection to finish this guy. 20 parts out of this set, which has 312 pieces. So like 90% of the parts were here, which I saw when I washed this piece. When I washed it out, I said, "Oh, there's a 697 one in here, guaranteed." It did not come with the 6x6 trans yellow, but that's fine because it did come with the 4x10, which could have been for the 924 to 928 because I know one of those is in here, but I don't care because I use it here. And I do have enough, I do have enough 924s and 928s already built. And if you're remotely interested, these guys, I could build, 2.5 more 924s right now. But so this is my bin of blue printed classic space pieces. So I got lots of those, really faded. Again, years of collecting, scratched up. I even put my Ice Planet pieces in here. Yeah, and then we got all these Ice Planet pieces here. So I love Ice Planet. But even Benny spaceship pieces, which was, I have one built here and I think the other two are in storage. But also my friend, knowing how much of a classic space fan I was, who has access to, I don't know what, he won't tell me and I don't want to know. He gave me a whole bunch of these. Yes, this is from the 10497. Now I got 2 10497s up there. But I will say on that specific note, going off on a tangent, the 10497 was a fantastic set to get last year. But when I bought mine, the first one, because I did buy 3, and I have actually one in the box right there that I just got last week for $90. But when I got my first 10497, I built this guy first. Because it had the alternate instructions for the 918. But I modified it so the guy can sit down properly and the landing gear folds up. So, because that was very, very important to me. And you could do this. I had it worked out so you could do this with just the parts in the set. But also I built mine a little better with some parts from my collection to make it a little better. But this was the first one I built when I bought the 497, the first one. Because as I say, the 918 was the very first classic space set that I got when I was a kid. And so I had to build this 918 first. And then I got my second 10497 and I built, see if I can get him down without dropping him. This guy. Which is a lot of fun. I will say this. Again, I mentioned, if you want to talk about this for a second, I mentioned that, that back there. That Lego in the 90s, in the mid 90s especially, could not make a good set for the life of them, in my opinion. A lot of people think there are some really good sets in there, and I won't disagree. I will not dissuade them of that notion. Like for me, there was nothing that they were pumping out that I wanted to buy. There was nothing grabbing my attention when I walked into the store until the RCX. But since then, since the 2000s and the Star Wars and the Bionicles and the ramping back up, the #1 toy manufacturer in the world right now, beating Mattel, from what I was told. Lego makes a lot of great sets. I got Winnie the Pooh here. My wife loves Winnie the Pooh, so I got her the Winnie the Pooh set. So I got that. She bought me the Sesame Street set because I grew up on Sesame Street. Sesame Street started the year I was born. If you're my age, you grew up on Sesame Street. I remember when Mr. Roper died. I'm like, woo! Anyway, Mr. Hooper, not Mr. Roper. my cross connecting with Three's Company, so they built they've had some really, really cool sets. And the idea sets are awesome. I don't buy hardly any of them. I really don't. But I do have some of them here. And I don't mind that. I am more classic oriented for me, my style of building. But as I say, we get Winnie the Pooh, I got Sesame Street, and I got the 10497. And a bunch of others. The botanicals are fantastic, by the way. But I will say, in the past 10 years, my favorite set that Lego's ever put out, period, is the Saturn V. It is, honest to goodness, one of my favorite sets that I ever built. I have so much fun building it, and it's on display out there in our rec room. It goes across the mantle. It is absolutely a wonderfully put together set, the Saturn V. And I always say this, so I was born in the late 60s. My older cousins were born before that, and they loved the Saturn, the Gemini, the Mercury projects because they were astronomers and whatever. They were inspired by the Apollo space program. I was too young. I was 2 years old when they landed on the moon, so I was a little too young for that. And I was 5 when they canceled the space program or the Apollo program. I was too young for that. My wonderful memories growing up was, first of all, the $6 Million Man, who had, I think the show had a liaison with NASA because Oscar Goldman had the space shuttle model in his office, and Lee Majors and Steve Austin be on the moon sometimes. But the space shuttle program. And we had the subscription to National Geographic when we were kids. My parents had it. My dad had it forever. We had stacks. And then when they started the space shuttle program, we had all those articles in the National Geographic talking about how the space shuttle worked and the tiles and all that stuff. And I was captivated. I'm 8, 9, 10 years old. And when they brought the Enterprise out of the hangar and the Star Trek casts, because I've been a Trekkie, like Lego, I've been a Trekkie since my earliest memories. My brother watched Star Trek, and I would laying him on the carpet in the living room watching Star Trek with him, all the repeats in the early 70s. So I loved the space shuttle program. I remember when they brought the Enterprise out, I was glued to the TV set when the Columbia first went up and blah, blah, blah. I was in school, high school, when the Challenger blew up, and that was like devastating for me. I was at coffee when the Columbia blew up or crashed or burned up in the atmosphere. So I kept trapped. I never got to see a shuttle launch because I'm way up here in Canada. It's my regret that I never got down to Florida to watch a shuttle launch. But I have the latest shuttle up there, and that's also a wonderful set. It's a wonderful set, and it's close, but it is not the Saturn V build for me. That build was absolutely spectacularly awesome, and so I do. Yeah, just a sec. I'm going to finish this live then. I'll be right up. So I did finish this. I didn't finish all my tangents. Sorry. I got to go. We are going to go do some family stuff now. See, this is what I talked about. Family is very important. It's the most important for me. And everybody in this family is very, very fantastic. And so we're going to do some family stuff now. So thank you, everybody who joined and watched. This was utterly fantastic. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to do maybe some more lives and talk some more. Maybe. I don't know how to shut up sometimes. Thank you for watching me build the 6971. I may look up a Star Wars set. I don't know yet. But anyway, you guys, everybody out there, I always forget how to get out of here. Let's see. You think I would know this by now. There we go. End live. And now. Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching.